Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Circle Up and Get Real. This week, I've been thinking about my tagline, even for this podcast, talking about things that matter with people who matter. And I'm starting to wonder what that even means. What does it mean that things matter? And I've been really pondering a lot this week. Maybe I should change the tagline to something about things I wonder and things I ponder, because that's where I spend a lot of my time in my head. I can't often find people who want to have these kinds of exchanges in real life in the time frame I have, because I think of things and immediately want to talk about them. And so that doesn't always happen in the opportunity to have an in-person conversation. Sometimes these are in the middle of the night thoughts. I do a lot of journaling, so I remember them, I write them down, and I use this platform as a place for me to work through some of these thoughts that I have. Sometimes I'll write notes in advance from my journaling, and sometimes I will just go kind of stream of consciousness here. And I really appreciate those of you who allow me the listening space to do this. I guess I'm not really asking permission because right now nobody's watching, so I just do this as a way to get thoughts out of my mind and to share them in the hope that someone somewhere will hear something that they want to actually wonder and ponder for themselves. So today I was thinking about the name of our country, the name of the country where I was born, and I love this country, the United States. And was curious when I thought about that, and I thought, how did we come to that name? Are we truly united right now in our, I don't know, our beingness of the place we live? I'm talking specifically to United States people right now. And I was curious, how did we come to this name for our country? And so I asked ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is always available. Whenever I have an idea or a thought, I can always talk to ChatGPT. And what my chat bot told me was, here's how the United States name came about. It was in pre-1776 colonial language. Before independence, people referred to the colonies or the United Colonies, meaning the British colonies that were starting to coordinate against Britain. So we actually came united because we were against Britain, apparently. The word united described cooperation, not yet a nation. So that was early, pre 1776. And then the Declaration of Independence in 1776, it says the phrase United States of America appeared for the first time in its final draft. In the heading, it read, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. This phrasing intentionally used lowercase u in united to emphasize that they were separate states joining together, not yet a single centralized entity. So there was a lot of thought that went into this. I really like that. They transitioned to the national name between 1776 and 1781. Over the next few years, United States of America, with capital U, capital S, capital A, became the common term used in treaties, letters, and documents. It began to replace earlier designations like United Colonies, capital U, capital C. And then it became formalized in 1781 and onward. The Articles of Confederation, the country's first constitution, opened with, the style of this confederacy shall be the United States of America, capital USA. That line officially established it as the country's legal name. So in this case, the meaning, united, reflected the voluntary alliance of independent states. States meant each had its own government. Of America located them on the continent named after explorer Amerigo Vespucci, whose name first appeared on maps in the early 1500s. So kind of interesting history to how we came together. At the beginning, we were united in our fight against Britain. So, coming together against something was the way that started. And so then I asked about this phrase that I've heard many times, united we stand, divided we fall. United we stand, divided we fall. Where did that come from? And this is ancient in spirit, though its exact wording became famous in the 18th century. So it says on ChatGPT, its idea can be traced all the way back to Aesop's fables around the 6th century BC. In The Four Oxen and the Lion and The Bundle of Sticks, Aesop illustrated how unity brings strength and division brings ruin. Though not phrased the same way, the moral was clear. Together we survive, apart we perish. So, and then I went deeper in the American context. The exact phrase was popularized by Patrick Henry, the revolutionary leader best known for "Give me liberty or give me death." In 1799, Henry used the phrase in a speech urging unity among the new American states. And this is what he said: "Let us trust God and our better judgment to set us right hereafter. United we stand, divided we fall. Let us not split into factions which must destroy that union upon which our existence hangs." His words captured the fragile unity of the new nation after independence. And so we, as a country, adopted this as our motto in the United States, symbolizing the strength of the Union, and it started appearing on flags, posters, songs, state emblems. The expression has since become a universal proverb for solidarity, used in everything from labor movements to social justice campaigns. It's a really great reminder that even if it came from ancient origins, we are better together than we are divided. We being anybody, I guess. Anybody who has something that they want to accomplish. United, we stand. Divided, we fall. And so then I'm thinking, curious to me then, if this is what we came together back in the early days of the formation of this country, it feels to me, and again, I could be completely wrong about this, but it feels to me like we've forgotten that. We being the people, we the people, who, in order to form a more perfect union. I mean, that's how it starts, right? We the people, in order to form a more perfect, not a perfect, but a more perfect union, a more perfect union. And so I wonder what happened. I mean, we can look back at all of the, the rocks that were starting to be pulled out of the foundation of what we were here to do. And I wonder. So then I started thinking, so as we were formed as a nation, are we a democracy or are we a republic? And that got me thinking about Democrats and Republicans. Are we a democracy or a republic? And here is what they both mean. A democracy means rule by the people. In a pure or direct democracy, citizens themselves vote on laws and policies, every decision, every issue. Ancient Athens is the classic example. Citizens gathered to debate and vote directly on everything from taxes to war. So in this democracy, the key trait is majority rules directly. The strength in a democracy is it's maximally participatory, meaning it's the opportunity for the most people to participate. The weakness, it can be unstable or unfair to minorities because the majority always wins. And I guess if you think about majority as 51%, that's still 49% who don't, although that's a big percentage, they don't win any election. So that's a democracy in its purest form. So then what's a republic? A republic means rule by the people through representatives. Citizens elect leaders to make and enforce laws on their behalf. The U.S. Constitution established this system to balance majority will with protection of individual rights. The key trait here is the rule of law and a written constitution limit government power. Okay? So the strength, it safeguards against mob rule. And the weakness, it depends on the wisdom and integrity of elected representatives and on citizens staying informed and engaged. That's a huge condition, isn't it? It depends on the wisdom and integrity of elected representatives and on citizens staying informed and engaged. This is so interesting. So the United States model then, the United States is best described as a constitutional democratic republic. Democratic because the people have ultimate authority through elections, and republic because we operate under laws and elect representatives bound by a constitution that protects minority rights and individual freedoms. So I find that fascinating. I have to turn the page because I have a second page here. In the framers of the Constitution worried that pure democracy could become impulsive or emotional. So they built checks and balances between branches of government and between federal and state powers to keep passion in balance with principle. So I'm going to go back to then the two-party system we have in the United States right now, which is Democrats and Republicans. I wonder if that's originally where those two parties came from and what they stood for. So the democracy, Democrats, I don't know, again, could be wrong. Help me if I'm wrong, anybody. Let me know. Democracy is rule by the people. In a pure or direct democracy, citizens themselves vote on laws and policies, every decision, every issue. So democracy, Democrats, is about majority rules directly. It's maximally participatory. So Democrats. Okay? Republicans then, or Republic, it's rule by the people through representatives. So Republicans then, it safeguards against mob rule. It depends on the wisdom and integrity of elected representatives and on citizens staying informed and engaged. So maybe that's what Republicans believed at the beginning. And so I'm just curious about how we are where we are. We don't feel very united right now. We don't, to me, feel like we remember why we came together in the first place against the king. So we came together to fight against something, but we came together to do that. And right now it feels like we're fighting against ourselves. And so as one side stands for something, they're standing for something to fight against the other side of that. And we have, I mean, we were created as an organization, as a country, a constitutional democratic republic. Democratic because the people have ultimate authority through elections, which means that we have to participate, right? We have to participate if we want our voices heard. And Republican or Republic because we operate under laws and elect representatives bound by a constitution that protects minority rights and individual freedoms. That just seems really wise, doesn't it? That seems really wise to me. That in the best case scenario, this is what we intended it to be. We intended to have people represented, voted, elected by the democracy to represent us in the republic so that the best case could always be in play. And I'm just curious, and again, I could be wrong about this, and I'm willing to be redirected here. But if we if we elect people to represent us, and those people we elect to represent us are not representing us, let's just say it's a majority, so it's 51-49. The 49% doesn't ever feel represented then, right? If they're losing any kind of argument or debate or election, where does that 49% go and what do they do? Well, in the best case scenario, then they would have the republic operating under laws and electing representatives bound by a constitution that protects minority rights and individual freedoms. So if we just look at minority in this case as the 49% that didn't have the biggest voice in the election, there's still something in place for them. Am I wrong about this? Help me out with this. In the best case scenario, there's still someone to represent them and hear them and have their back. And in the current situation we find ourselves, why I think when I've talked to people and they've told me they're upset with the government, with the political system we have, because it's become a career for people. And again, don't know if this is true, but they are representing their own best interests instead of the interests of the people who elected them, because they're in fear of losing their jobs. And if that's true, I wore my Fear Less shirt today. Fear, period, less, period, fear less. What if we could fear less about what we would lose, our jobs, our positions, our money, and care more about what is possible if we come back together, if we unite. And I don't know. It seems pretty evident to me, but I could be missing something. If the people who are elected by the people who vote, which by the way probably isn't a majority of the people because for whatever reason we've decided it doesn't matter in some cases, we have such a low voter turnout for most of the things that are up for a vote, just looking at the numbers. And I wonder, and then we could talk about, well, they have a hard time getting to the polls, and there's this, whatever. I don't even want to go there. I don't want to be a victim in this mentality. It's so easy to say, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. And when we get into the yeah, buts, we're arguing for our limitations instead of staying in the conversation that could move us toward a more perfect union. And I wonder if we even want a more perfect union. Maybe people don't want a more perfect union. Maybe we've come to the point in our, almost 250-year history of our country that I don't want a union. I want what I want. I want what's best for me. And I'm not interested in a union anymore. I'm interested in being right. And when that happens, from the work I've been doing about conscious leadership, being conscious, which I'm using the 15 commitments of conscious leadership as my bar. That's what I'm using to describe conscious leadership, which is open, curious, committed to learning. In that space of conscious businesses, conscious awareness, it seems like we really can't be in the space of being right at the expense of being open and learning. Because if we're more committed to being right than we are to learning about something, that just shows our unconsciousness. That exposes our unwillingness to be open, curious, and committed to learning. And when I do my best to be observational, but of course I have my opinions about things. The observation I see is a lot of digging in heels over issues. I want to be right about this. And I'm making an assumption that fear has a big part of that. I'm afraid of what will happen if I'm not right. I'm afraid of what will happen if, I'm proven wrong or whatever. There's a lot of reasons for fear, I suppose. And yet, not wanting to even go there and have that conversation and not stay in the rumble of it and shine a light on some of these dark places, not even the willingness to do that, exposes some of our limitations. And when the yeah buts come into our heads, yeah but, yeah but, yeah but you don't know, yeah but, we're saying yes, yeah, but I can't or I won't, I'm not able, I'm not willing, I'm not ready, whatever it might be. In that exposure of the limitations, it shows that we are unconscious. We are more willing to be right and find every ounce of evidence we can to prove we're right, even when we're inaccurate. There's two different things. Being right and being accurate are not always the same thing. And when you are in a situation in a business setting or I don't know, any setting really, and you notice that people are fighting against something and they're more committed to what they're against because maybe they haven't even really formulated what they're for, that's a pretty sure sign that we in the conversation have gone to sleep, have gone unconscious. And I notice when I go unconscious about a lot of issues and topics. I do, and I notice. I notice because my body's telling me, my jaw, my shoulders, they're telling me, Jody, you're going unconscious. You're falling into that place where you're wanting to be right. And in that space of wanting to be right, the only thing that can happen is I have to make somebody else wrong. In order to be right, I have to make someone else wrong. And the challenge we have right now, in my observation, is we're so dug in on the sides of things that even facts or evidence or truth doesn't matter. In a lot of cases, it doesn't matter. I can show you where I saw this. I can show you, well, that doesn't matter. That's not a true source. That's fake news. And it's no wonder we're in this space we're in, because we are so much more committed to being right than we are to being open and to learning. At least that's how it occurs to me. And again, please help me understand if I'm wrong about this. Because if I am, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's show each other some opportunities to learn in this space. This is what I believe it means to be a conscious business person. And insert, space there, conscious educator, a conscious legislator, a conscious anything, right? It means I'm more committed to learning than I am to being right. And sometimes when I'm right about something and I have a fact and I have something that I know is the truth, I can fall below the line, right? Because I can go, I am right about this, even if I'm accurate. And I push and push and push. And the other person does not open his or her mind very often to say, oh my gosh, yes, let me change my mind about that, when we put that energy forward, which is force and push and make somebody do something, because the only thing that happens in that energy is resistance. And that's another word you hear a lot, resistance. We're going to resist the enemy, or stand up to, or whatever. All of that is noble. I understand. I mean, that's how our country was formed. We were against the British rule. I get it. And yet the difference there, it occurs in my observation. We came together to stand in opposition to that. Right now, we are dividing all over the place, and there's really nothing that I can see that the majority is standing for right now. We're so, I don't know, conditioned maybe to be vocal about what we're against. And in that space and in that energy, boy, all we can do if we're operating unconsciously is create a whole lot of defensiveness, right? Closed, defensive, committed to being right. And when we become offensive, there is a defense against that. And all we're doing is creating more push. We're playing a finite game here, which is, let me win this battle. And if I can win this battle, I can feel good about myself for a second. But we're not playing the long game. We're not playing an infinite game when we have these kinds of conversations. We're not even remembering our 250-year history as a country. We're more, dedicated to being right in this short little term we're having this conversation, which isn't a dialogue, in my opinion. Dialogue is being willing to suspend any previous assumptions you might have had before you came together so that you can learn from and with each other. I don't see a ton of dialogue right now. I don't see much dialogue at all. I see a whole lot of debate and a bit of discussion. Discussion comes from the same root as percussion and concussion, and it's about getting your idea out there in the cushion of things, right? That creates a defense because it feels offensive. And again, we don't do this consciously necessarily. We're just doing what we've done forever. We're in that cycle of this is how it's always been. And if you think about your organization, whatever your organization is, that's one of the sure signs that you've fallen into unconsciousness. Well, that's the way we've always done it. Or we've never done it that way before. Both are saying the same thing. We're not open. We're not curious. We're not committed to learning. And part of that is a time frame. I get it. A time limit. We don't have time. We don't have time to start over. We don't have time to, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, you're not going to have time to fix it later. So why wouldn't we start now? Because here's the thing I'm recognizing about breakdowns. If something needs to break down, I suppose, before it can be seen that it's broken. And so the only way to have a breakthrough is to have something to break through. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this system needs to break. Maybe what was intended in 1776 is no longer relevant for 2025 and on. I don't know. Maybe we need to start over. Maybe it needs to break. Maybe it needs to completely break down so we can rebuild it. Do we have time? No, we don't have time. We're this quick fix society, and we want to fix everything, right? If we see a problem, we want to fix it. And fixing, just think about that word. If you fix something, you put it back to the way it was. The leg on the chair breaks and you fix it, you put it back to the way it was. You don't rebuild it when you fix it. And fixing implies that something is broken and just needs to be put back. Maybe it's not broken in that way. Maybe it's breaking down so it can break open, so it can break through. I don't know. I just don't know how we can keep doing the same thing we've been doing and expect different results. You know, we learned from Einstein, I think, who said that's insanity. He said you can't solve the current problems you find yourself in with the same thinking that got you there in the first place. You just can't. That's insanity. And thinking is hard. It's hard. It's hard to think about this. It's hard to stop enough to go, wait a second. What I've been thinking has gotten me here. If I want something different, something's got to change. And if I'm aware of that first, then I guess it's up to me to go first. That's what a true leader is, in my opinion. Someone who's willing to go first, even if the path ahead is not clear. I mean, geez, that's what it means to be a pioneer and a trailblazer. And often those people who were building the bridges before they were built were the ones who were getting the rocks thrown at their backs. Because people were saying, I don't know what you think you're doing. That's stupid. I wouldn't go that way. Well, then go your other way. Do something. Move. Because the people who are blazing the trail are the ones who are getting shot in the back. People don't want them to show a new way, because if they're unconscious and they're below the line, then they're like, I don't want to be proven wrong. I want to be right. I am more committed to being right than to being learning focused. We're showing this all the time. We're showing our hand all the time, but nobody's stopping long enough to look at what's being shown. And that's the challenge. What if we could stop long enough to have just a conversation about something else? That's what we're going to be doing in our conscious business meetups that we'll be having. I don't know how to get the word out. I mean, I thank you 3 viewers who are watching this right now. People aren't watching the things I'm putting out there. So that could lead me to believe that I'm saying something that's crazy or nobody believes it. But it doesn't mean I have to stop. It just means I'm looking for a place to work out some of my own wonders and ponders. And this is a place that I feel safe doing it, maybe because people aren't watching it, except you all that are. Thank you very much. I don't know, but I just know I'm not going to stop. So Chris Angel and I are creating conscious business meetups. He's doing it where he lives in Spokane. I'm doing it where I live in Fargo. He's also got someone in Las Vegas hosting some of those there. There's no agenda to these meetups. There are dialogue points. And if people are coming to this, they're at least curious about what it means to be a conscious business person. And the way we're describing that is open, curious, committed to learning. If you're interested in that, you would come. And if you're interested, I don't suppose you're somebody who wants to come and sell your stuff, although you could, but that's not the purpose. Give your business card to everybody and tell them to, buy your thing. It doesn't really occur that way in a dialogue. It occurs as if I'm open, curious, committed to learning. And in that space, we'll have a topic. Last time we met, we talked about gratitude and how that shows up. And if you're in a conscious business setting and you lead with that, what happens? How does that show up? We hope to have conversations that you might not have other places. And these are great meetups. And again, not a huge agenda, but maybe a prompt for a dialogue.